Spider-Man
You're
was
saying
in
the
love
bond.
with. He didn't know how to deal with emotion.
That would be interesting,
but
for sure.
this was just he chose a nasty feeling, rather than a good feeling. And why all of a sudden does he menace the people that he had learned to care for? Where what that epiphany suddenly didn't matter anymore. That was thrown out as if he never saved Peter's life because of the way he felt for other people.
But I can speak to this, though, that in real life, that a person can allow their grief and the power that they get from being angry about being on the right side.
But he didn't have all of that.
No, but I'm
when
saying
we last seen him.
No, you're talking about the suit, but I'm talking about human beings that like.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the
people
aliens.
really do
Again,
make
the
choices
aliens
like that.
Motivation.
What I think you're getting at is that
the feeling of hate and anger is so nasty. Why would he choose to wallow in it and find somebody happy?
Right, but you're saying why would an alien do it?
Why would an alien do it who had only felt the emotion of care for these people?
Well, it's
that was what made
adrenaline, but like it could have gotten adrenaline from a lot of people. You know, track runners.
There's adrenaline in happiness.
I guess it just really wanted to settle down. It's like a lesbian; it just wants to move right in together.
Yeah, I understand them using human motivations, but they use human motivations on aliens who didn't know how to feel. So why would he choose?
Remember what was happening in Web of Spider-Man, where Peter was struggling against the alien because it didn't want to let him go, and it knew he was going to the Baxter Building, and they'd get separated. Right now, think about that. Wouldn't it have been interesting if Eddie still had those psychotic intentions towards the Parkers, but the suit would fight him?
Right? Why did it fight so hard with Spider-Man? And then decide that it would save him for the people that Spider-Man loves. Because
with that formula about overwhelming odds and trying to make
didn't save him because he cared about Peter. He saved him because Peter cared about other people and other people cared about Peter. And he knew.
Because when you think about it, it might as well be a psychological struggle.
He saved Peter for Mary Jane.
Right, because here's the thing that we know, right?
He must have saved Peter for Aunt May and Mary Jane.
Generally speaking, with a small asterisk on it, you know, lots of people try to kill Spider-Man, but, you know, the character is going to stay in the publishing realm as long as people are interested in him, and, you know, he's got those huge movies and everything, right? So the idea of someone coming to kill him, the idea of, like, a killer menacing Peter, it is in the telling, but at the end, we know that a killer's not going to kill Peter. But this sort of thing about, is this other character going to deal? And I know it makes it even more about the suit, but I like that idea because now you've got two characters truly in one, and the idea that the costume is like ambivalent about the things that Eddie wants would be. That would have been an interesting story.
Costume, and instead of focusing on destroying Spider-Man, figure out how he could fix his life. And we'll never
she's not even on camera.
My Wing Girl.
This thing keeps following us everywhere because she loves us. She loves to growl and she loves to.
Put her butt in my face.
This is Amazing Spider-Man 300, and I was just going to read this. Don't always read a lot of comic books anymore, but I thought this would be kind of fun. And Angie hasn't seen. She just read Web of Spider-Man with me, but that's about it. So anyway, Origin of Venom. Let's see. We are using our new, what's this called, Demo Creator. Yeah, we're using the Demo Creator recorder for the very first time. So here we go. So, alright, so we know that definitely they're trying to put a dagger in Peter's heart, because it's like if Mary Jane looks like this, you know, that would bother him the most, right? So, anyway. And, you know, it's kind of old-fashioned to, you know, manipulate heroes with, you know, the fear of the female lead. I get that. But they're trying to make, like, you know, the personal stakes of it, because it's someone dangerous coming into their lives that can get right there into their home. And dresses just like her husband.
Her hair is freaking big in that.
I know Todd McFarlane went mad with his hair.
What maybe she was doing boofy 80s? I don't know.
It is boofy 80s. You're correct.
All she needed was the spikes she used to put in hers.
Does that have enough spikes?
Almost.
That's the cut, right?
Yeah.
That's the cut. See?
Well, CDC's had longer She had longer hair, but it pulled it
Oh,
up
yeah.
like that. That she has really short and spiky, so it's not as dramatic.
Oh, that's pretty long. Oh, you're talking about Dixie.
Dixie had really
But
long,
it's like,
and she has really
this
short
is-
and spiky.
Really? What's that?
No,
What's
her bangs.
Oh, her bangs.
Her
She
bangs
makes
are real short. Dixie's were long, but she would have them
I
up
see.
like that. That's why it doesn't look as dramatic. But the rest of her hair looks really, really over permed.
So anyway, we've got MJ. This is drawn in 1987.
But again, over permed look. I saw it a lot in my youth with the woman.
So it's like, Mary Jane, what's wrong? It's like my hair. It's over permed. I don't think that's the case. Then, is it? All right. So yeah, like I was saying, you know, the high stakes and all that. No more. I was like, okay. Well, how do I get this stuff to go down without? Oh yes, nice. And it's like, you know, that's Peter. Yeah. And it's like somebody that just came dressed like that just creeped her completely.
I
out.
just don't like. I'm sorry. I don't like them making Mary Jane weak. This is my personal opinion. She was always a strong and a different kind of girl when she
Sure.
first met her. She was strong enough to be a swinger back in a time when a woman was, you know, still looked at really hard.
And I can agree with that.
And yet,
But-
yeah, I just didn't like.
But her
them making
situation
her
is like,
weak.
she's like, he was in the apartment waiting for me. So somebody dressed just like her husband just showed up, but it was just this huge creep. You know, so she feels like her home has been violated, you know.
I know I didn't like them doing that. I did like them letting her kick the ass of Chameleon
Right.
after he
But
fucked
Chameleon's
with
a little
her.
bit more on
But they were
her level.
quick.
Chameleon's a dude, you know.
They
He's just a
were
regular guy.
quick
Venom is
to
not.
fuck with the women. Sorry, quick to and May. All the women. Stacy had to die for the things to happen.
See, and I get that. It's like
I'm
the
over
long,
that right
the
now.
long history of them not doing the.
Oh, that art though.
What do you
Why
think?
did her face suddenly get fat?
You're saying that her
Like she's
dimensions
overweight.
are her dimensions are.
Well, look, she looks like a man in drag now.
You think? Well, the dimensions do keep changing.
And well, you know, her face is never fat. Look how fat that face is, and where's the? And just minutes before, it wasn't like that. Sorry, the art's not very good on this one.
Oh wow! Sorry, Todd McFarlane. A lot of people feel that way
I
too.
do
No, a
like
lot of
Todd
people would have those same
McFarlane,
critics. Now, a
but-
lot of people would have those same criticisms.
But
so.
she was never a fat woman, and she looked like a woman who was about 30 pounds overweight. With the face, all of a sudden she looked like a man in drag. Maybe he had to push it out fast. I mean, I do understand that, and I do give something for that because it takes a lot of time to get things such a way, and maybe he wasn't feeling it, but she looked like a man in drag.
So anyway, okay, that's cool.
Now he looks cool.
Yeah,
The burly,
yeah, and lots of
scraggly
lines.
con.
Yeah, he's really done a lot. Yeah, he looks like he's been on
Oh,
for a
you
long
know,
time.
he's reminded of Dutch.
He looks like Dutch from So. Yeah, but with even more muscles.
Well,
for
look
sure.
at the look on his face. Even like they have a handbook. Or
He's trying to
something
decide between
on
Corinne
Facebook.
and Eunice.
Yes.
Yeah. So it gets all pump a little iron. It's like, you know, kind of funny to listen to him. Like, it's like, yeah, we see you're about to pump some iron, but I mean, I guess stating the obvious is okay.
Well, it happens in comic books.
Oh, and a lot of drama too about, you know, when he's getting ready for the kill, because, you know, going for the cool line, you know.
And then, of course, the look in the eyeball is if the eyeball's going to be the one thing that kills him.
Well, maybe those teeth.
Yeah, it might be the teeth or the nostril.
Yeah, I'm jealous. Somebody draw me some teeth.
Uh,
So the Lightning House. Okay, so this is a place to sleep the tents. What?
I said McFarlane, I'm sorry. He's been making these faces fat. Look how fat Peter's face is.
You think that it's like, you know, it's too much boyish fat chub? Let's see.
Well, it's not
Let me see.
consistent. Look. Thing
I.
is, this is not consistent.
Oh, that's Todd McFarlane inking himself too. So
I
it's
mean,
not
look,
anybody
it's just
else
not
doing it.
consistent. If you look at earlier thing of
Like
Peter,
there,
it's
right?
not
He doesn't look as-
consistent. It's look how
That looks right. That
chiseled.
Looks right. And then,
Then-
you're saying that some of it's the angle though.
They flattened his face a little.
Uh huh.
Even the angle doesn't pull it off. I know angles of people's face. He put fat on their face.
So that,
That's how he handles that angle. It's making their face fat.
inconsistency, yeah. So anyway, it's like, he's thinking about how he got this suit, and he's explaining it for everybody that doesn't know. It was great having a costume that could mimic my civilian clothes. Okay. Everyone has the same fat look.
He phoned this one in. I feel like his work usually, but he phoned this one in.
This is actually like his third issue on Amazing Spider-Man. He'd been drawing the Hulk before this.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I like his later work better because I did like McFarlane's work.
Did you see him on the Incredible Hulk, the Grave?
Probably.
Oh, I love those issues.
But this one was phoned in. There's just no consistency to this.
I'm not sure what you've read else beside from Todd McFarlane for sure, but he's getting it back.
I saw a lot of his drawings. I remember his stuff.
His drawings are out there a lot.
Yeah, I'm not talking about his writing.
He's not writing. Yeah,
I'm talking about his drawing.
Yeah, this is Iron Man's old writer, David Michelinie. So anyway, basically, they're going back to the idea that since Sonic's worked on getting it off of him without killing Peter, that they tried it with the bells, which was a sloppier way to do it. I was disturbed by how many peels is this bell doing, and I realized it's multiple bells going off at one time, but I don't know. I don't want to pick the scene apart, but
it's how many times
bells don't take as long as that scene.
Right.
That was what bothered me.
I guess maybe if he hit it really dang hard.
No, but I mean, it was boom, bong, 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 bong for several pages, and
in several places.
But each bong, each time that it went bong, 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 it was 1 second. I got to realize that.
Right, but I don't know why they spent so long on it because
it took a while. Yeah, but the time it takes for the guy to fly.
Because it made it feel like it was more 15 minutes of it rather than
it was almost exactly
a minute or two. But I always wondered why it didn't smash the eardrums, or
for Peter,
or do something
to
make his brain bleed.
Sometimes they won't do that. Yeah, they
because
won't do
sound is
consequences.
That kind of sound is not good for your brain.
I agree. Comic book characters seem to heal faster.
I do know that he has the proportionate healing of the spider, but I don't
proportionate healing. I guess so. Yeah.
Or whatever.
I mean, you got to find some way to find.
But at the same
it's not
time,
exactly scientific.
A spider, the brain would be mush with sound that's that loud and directly
it did almost kill him.
holes.
It did almost kill him, and remember that's why the suit saved him.
That's why it's a friggin' vegetable.
But that is also what's weird, right? About when the
his
suit
brain would be
when
mush.
the suit does come back, right? That it comes back writing somebody that hates him, and it's
it's one of those get off my back moments, isn't it? That you just have to go because it's so what powers does his spider powers have?
It's
what can't he cure? Brain mush? He can cure brain mush?
Or one of those, hey, shut up, so. Right? I think so, yeah. So I hope you weren't calling room service.
I like that. Now he knew how to do that.
Actually, he did know how to do that.
What's that?
Actually, he did know how to do that. Yeah. That's nice on her.
See how he made her face look dainty and womanly there, though?
Yeah.
I said he phoned some of it in.
I can't say that.
I can.
It is hard to draw figures because I know he's a professional drawing the Amazing Spider-Man.
He phoned it in. I know maybe it was also that he had time constraints. But it's still obvious. He phoned it in.
Do you like her little Chinese lady face?
See, it's so inconsistent.
I mean, she's cute that way.
Well, I do like the Chinese, or I like the Asian look.
Yeah, it's already.
I do like the Asian look.
Yeah, she looks like a member of Twice. Kinda, yeah.
Twice or Itzy or Aespa. She would be more of a Aespa than.
Yeah, although
Twice. She would more be Aespa. She's too fiery for Twice.
So they said they could look at a condo this afternoon, right? He's gonna pick up a single lens reflex camera so it's we could look at the condo. So she wants him to take some pictures, for before and after the move. Okay, nice. So they're gonna move out of that apartment.
Oh yeah,
that's
just to show.
Yeah. I mean, I guess realistically,
but see, that's the thing that has nothing to do with. I mean, I know that they've made it a monster, but really, I think at the time that they were actually talking about how unsafe it is for a woman to live in an apartment by herself, especially in certain areas. I mean, they made him a super but it is dangerous in certain areas, and even if it had not been a super criminal, it would have probably been wise for her to move from that area if some man had been in her apartment waiting.
Yeah, someone that knows where to find her and would bother her.
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez, that's a lot.
And would pretend to be her husband?
That is by far, yeah.
That sounds like stalker-ish.
That gets right in there.
Is this during the time that she was in the soap?
She is.
I think
that storyline is about to start.
Because I was about to say, didn't they have like a stalker?
Yeah, they do for quite a while. They do.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I read a lot of this stuff.
Yep, back when I had it. Thanks, Sean. It said take precautions against it. So he's borrowed a sonic blaster from the FF on the way over. I just hope I don't have to use it. Okay.
It's all webbed though.
Aunt May's reminding him for dinner. Yeah, it dissolves in like an hour. Well, 7 p.m. short. I mean sharp. Oh, fooey. I hate it. Okay. That's fine. She's fine.
She just can't. She just can't. Was that Aunt May?
Yes, we have older relatives that aren't good at using devices. So
how are you today?
That just continues to be relatable as the generations roll.
I love how formal at first that his mom's texts were.
Yeah, it was funny.
If they weren't messed up,
I wonder if she was using templates a little bit, but it was
possible.
Great. Remember when she would just send blank texts?
Mamu.
I mean, I have a thing like this too. I'm gonna try to learn how to make MPC beats and stuff. Stop putting that on.
Oh yeah, that's all she did at first. Once she sent 3 empty texts, and then she called and said something like "off foot" or something.
That's funny. So he gets the feeling he's not going to get this paranoid feeling away because it's like he knows somebody that might be following him at any moment, right? But that his spider sense won't tell him. That sucks. And as you can see, his background's changing behind him. There's some storytelling. It's like probably a knock on McFarlane's run.
That is that same picture, pretty much.
Pretty much with the little different backgrounds. But yeah, Todd's storytelling might. He was good at the pinup. But he might have, some people would say that the storytelling may not flow as great at places.
I don't know.
I know how hard that is too. I'm glad that I drew a comic book long enough to figure out,
Yours was a labor of love.
Yeah, I'll be laboring with love again too. Just had to feel that love again. So let's see, no crowd to hide in. Okay, so Brock is definitely following him. Oh, that's a great shot of Spider-Man. The way that he figured out how to contort the wall crawler's body is awesome. I mean,
that one looks good.
Even with some exaggerations.
That was not weird.
He's really good.
I mean.
All right. Oh, an establishing shot. All right. Oh shit! Wow, what a big place.
Although her legs look a little weird.
Yeah, tiny figures can be.
They are. Tiny figures can be almost impossible.
But then because you're trying to do an establishing shot and you want them to be proportionate. I mean, yeah. I
mean, it may actually. The thing is when it looks weird like that, sometimes I find out that's the way it really is. When you look at like the foreshortening and all of that stuff, you can especially if you're trying to draw it, you can go, that looks so weird. Does the body really do that? But it does. With shadow and everything.
Yeah. You feel like she's actually recovered really well from being terrified out of her wits? I mean, I guess that would, be consistent. It's like because she is strong, right?
She's a strong woman.
She's made by a top fashion model. Like, this is one thing about it is that she's getting
right.
paid like that.
Right before she did her soap opera. Then, right?
Yeah. So any stories after this where they're having money troubles?
Well,
don't make as much
definitely
sense.
You can see right here in the art where they're displaying where they're going with her, because look at all of the style and the fashion.
Oh yeah.
But this is the Mary Jane they know, not the cry ugly face. It's the woman who was carefree and happy, and I hated that they took that from her.
Oh yeah, because that's something that I enjoyed too. It's like,
oh God, they gave her big bangs this time. Her hair went from spiky to long bangs,
luxurious bangs.
And now look, that's Dixie's. They're big.
That is your sister's.
That's Dixie. That's the 80s style I'm talking about.
This is what actually.
Ooh, but Dixie never wore the. Well, I can't say never, but she didn't wear fishnet stockings like that.
Yeah.
Look at the bootay. That bootay.
What's going on with us? You saw the
fun.
bootay, and I was about to comment on how huge the belt is. That's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, that's. Yeah.
Hey, I like that's a nice woman's butt.
Nice, I like it. You know, a woman's nice butt, or yeah. But, you know, she may have a wind machine or something. That's funny. Okay, so she's taking his mind off of, you know, the fact that
I think they would call
she
that
can
meaty
make thighs.
thighs.
Meaty.
Oh, why are you playing with that, MJ?
Oh, it's right there in her thought balloon.
I'm sorry. Put that away, MJ.
He feels like it's silly, it's hopeless. So anyway, this is her go-to whenever he's starting to get depressed.
Oh.
See?
Well, but just stop. Especially with that face. He did not do a good face for that sexy thing.
Slowly, Peter's spirits begin to rise.
Yeah, Peter looks like he's about to have his first meeting with the trans. I'm sorry, I like people like that, but she does not look like her, so she's so
You're just saying that if she was trans, then it's like
it would have been
embrace
awesome.
it, make it what it is. But you're just saying that they didn't get it. I don't know. People's images are like that, though. If you catch them at the wrong angle, sometimes people.
But they're not supposed to be catching her at the wrong angle.
No, they don't have to catch them at the wrong angle because they're drawing
She's
it.
a model. They're supposed to be promoting that.
And it's drawings, too, so you can kind of choose.
And she's supposed to be turning Peter on with that face.
I guess so. Well, maybe it's from a different world of cartooning, yeah. Like,
I'm not sure I'm digging this style. Look at Aunt May. She looks manly.
Well, she's mad at him because he's like...
No, she looks manly. I don't care if she looks mad.
He's trying to tease him about, like, ignoring her and everything, and it's just like, you know, now hush, just her hair lies.
She looks manly.
Yeah, well, then they went completely the other way in the movies and gave us Marissa Tomei.
So, I mean, but no, he's doing that with... it looks like he's been studying men in drag. I love him, but that's it. That's the case. That's what I'm seeing with this particular comic book. Oh, but he can do the butts and
He can do bodies.
He needs to learn to do faces. Thank you.
So, yeah.
So what is a woman about? Their body or their face? Come on.
Right. It's like, but, yeah, that's just your own paranoia. Thinking about, like, you know, you don't want to be like a nosy relative or anything, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no.
I'm loving the 80s hairstyles. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I like her eyes right there.
He represents those very well. Oh, my God. Those 80s hairstyles. Wait. Aunt Ming looks like she's about to put him in a chokehold.
She is. It's a chokehold of love.
She doesn't look like she's a... Look at her eyes, too. She's like, he'll never see it coming.
I'm not sure that we're reading the same comic book every panel. But. So, he's going to the church, right? Oh, I love it. Like in the movies, it's like that he like prays to God to kill Spider. Which I think is like, wow. I don't know. If I have trouble with any of this stuff, it's like trying to imagine like hating anybody enough to want to kill them. It's like, you know, I mean, for real kill them, not just, you know.
Yeah, my character shit. Oh,
yeah.
I gotta play my damn game.
Oh no.
Don't shoot me, cop.
Yeah, hey kid.
Look at
Put that
right
away,
at
kid.
me.
I know, right? Jimmy Olsen, put that away. Here we go. And it's like, oh God, okay, this is one of the cool things that is, I mean, cool, but, you know, kind of horrible. God.
Is that Brock, you said?
Yeah, that's Eddie Brock.
That's when Brock became Venom, okay.
This is the very first appearance of him as such. And it's like...
Why is it that
why's he gotta murder people?
all of a sudden, like every criminal has this mat on to get revenge when they get out, instead of caring about whether or not they get put back in jail? They get this revenge thing. I don't think every criminal that gets out of jail has this revenge motive for the people who put them in jail.
I agree, and not every one of them.
They want to go on with their life or go hide.
Sometimes
try to give criminal things away.
Right? Yeah, I agree with that too. It's like,
but they don't get this man on and go, now I'm going to go destroy their lives.
It's really kind of like this too, right? It's like
every criminal's stupid in these things.
There's a little. They get
obsessed with shit.
Right, but that's what makes them bad guys. But the thing that's also
petty criminals like they were not obsessed like that. They were obsessed with one thing: money.
Mm-hmm. If they were petty criminals, but they're usually motivated differently. Now, in this case, the guy, he'll explain his origins in there. He wasn't a criminal before. No, his story's in here. I thought you knew it already.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't think we ever read this together.
Yeah, no, we read this. Not this one, but we read about him. We read some Brock stuff. We read those bits. You didn't have every one of them, but you had some of them.
Well, there's Peter's old neighbors that we were just talking about in the Web of Spider-Man.
Because we went out and bought some of them together. Over at,
I don't know how we got a hold of a copy of 300, though, because that one's expensive.
It wasn't back then.
Well, it has been ever since. I mean, ever since it came out, it was at least $30 to get
Not 300. I said some of the other stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know, but this is
Brock,
300.
The storyline. I don't care, and I don't know why it's expensive, because it's awful. The art is throwing me off. There's no way I would be able to read it. Looking at this art.
Well, you're not the only one that feels that way, though.
I like the colors on that thing, but why? It's part of the dress. Why is it colorful on the inside of the dress? Is that one of those reversible ones? I think it'd be cuter than the colors.
There goes the house.
He looks right.
Yep. Right, Robbie? Yeah. And this is their little housewarming, too. Yep. And those neighbors they didn't show on Web of Spider-Man showed up for one panel there. So they're actually not that important. I don't think they're meant to be teens exactly, though. That was something else we talked about. That creep wasn't checked on Chelsea Street. Family was there. Man. He's looking for me. He didn't want it to be found with all his friends around him. It's like, well, that's always the dilemma in this case. This is the first story with that particular thing, but it's a little bit like the old Green Goblin setup. It's like, well, I don't want him to come hurt the people around me, but he knows.
Yeah, I get kind of bored with that, because every hero has to deal with that.
Do they? I can't tell you who else has.
Well, or they don't have friends. Most heroes don't. Yeah. Bruce Wayne, he was by himself, and the only one that did, Reed Richards, he had a family. But his family was superpowered too.
Yeah, the X-Men lived together.
They lived together. They weren't family, but they did live together. But I'm not sure they were all friends.
Somewhat. I'll say that they were family in that weird quasi sort of way that sometimes people that work at
camp. I wouldn't say they were all friends.
Oh no! I mean, Cyclops and Wolverine were in each other's face for a long time.
Yeah, they started out with that soap opera element of them both wanting Jean.
So pretty much his shtick is that he's got murderous intent and snappy powder, So.
Yeah,
Venom, yeah.
Venom, murderous intent, yeah. But why? See, they flirted with a moment with him actually feeling like Peter felt.
Like the suit, yeah.
Yeah, why did he choose the bad feeling instead? So it felt better to feel nasty on the inside, to feel angry like Brock, rather than...
You're asking, why did the suit make it the choice that it did?
That, it was easier to cope, because Brock's coping mechanism is to be angry.
Oh, you might like the end of issue 347. I peeked at that last night.
We actually did read a good bit of it, though. We had some of the line.
So, okay, he believes he used to be Eddie Brock in his career. And
because I know this storyline.
And after this, too, there have been a lot of comics that have come out in the past 10 years or so that have tried to make it a deeper story, about him and his wife, right? Because some of his pain is over that his wife left him in the middle of all this stuff, too.
But to me, that's always an excuse. Because bad shit happens to people, and some of them say good. A villain, so why is it that it always strikes the ones where they're not strong enough mentally and spiritually to deal with it?
Because
instead of striking the ones that are, it's always the weak motherfuckers.
But that's how the stories go, though. It's like if it weren't for people's different weaknesses, that they wouldn't be who they are. I was asking that earlier.
Yeah, but some of them are just mean. And they're excusing it with their situation, but they're just mean people. And there's no complication to it.
And they
It's
may have
just
already
simply
been,
that.
and they may have been a little bit mean before that, too. Anyway, his story is, they don't really go into the thing about his wife here, though.
Because at some point they always use that whole, oh, you need to have sympathy for the villain. It's like, he still dealt with it shittily. Come on now. Everybody has bad shit happen to them.
No, I agree with that too. It's like not everybody. But then if there were no villains, then it would be a different genre altogether. And that'd be fine too.
I don't mean no villains.
No.
But the different people come out at different... And they've gotten in a pattern where they won't let any of them just be shitty people for no reason other than they're shitty people.
Right.
And they try to make it emotionally complex for you.
But that can be like a little bit, you know.
And that feels...
But is there anybody like that in real life? That they just, you know, had just been just pieces of shit all their life and nothing that shaped them would take it.
True narcissists.
Could be.
True narcissists.
So here's his deal. Well, that might be some of his deal here too, right? Because he's like, my column in the Daily Globe was read by millions. I was a solid reporter, a respected member of the Fourth Estate. So he's a semi-famous reporter, it seems like.
Ego.
And then at least I was when I began writing a series of articles on the Sin Eater. Do you remember that? I would like to go back and read that story again someday, but I haven't in a very long time. I just remember it was intense. It was partly because of those articles that I was contacted by Emerald Gregg, right, who confessed to being the Sin Eater. And that's actually in the original story, that a guy came out and confessed, but it wasn't really him. You know, but he had a confessed killer here, you know. But this is just the luck of the draw. It's like sometimes the wrong person, you know, they didn't investigate this thoroughly enough to actually, you know, get.
And it's not up to a reporter if he gets some information that like the cops think. If the cops have come to that conclusion, it's not really up to the reporter unless he actually finds some real information to try to find out if they're right or wrong. He should expect the cops to do the cops' job, and he's just reporting about what the cop finds, right? And he hopes to be the first one to find out what the cops are doing. He's not supposed to be breaking the case. That's the cop's job.
But here's what happened, though.
I just mean, so if he got it wrong, it's only because he was going.
Well, the cops actually helped push him into it. So for him to blame Spider-Man is so ridiculous. But the pressure mounted. The police insisted that I reveal my source. They want him to reveal his source so that they could stop the murder spree. Oh, I see. So they didn't even turn himself in, you know. Under the advice of counsel, I finally wrote my masterpiece announcing Greg as the Sin Eater. And so that's him breaking it. But for about an hour and a half.
Okay, so he announced it, but did the cops already know?
Yeah, actually within an hour and a half. I mean, but this is just circumstance,
I just mean, did the cops already know who the senator was?
Who the senator?
Sin Eater.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
No, they didn't. But Spider-Man catches him next.
So the question is, if Brock had the information, and he's a good person.
He doesn't have the information. He's got the... You're not paying attention.
No, you said he's breaking the story.
No, he's breaking the wrong story. Look.
Yeah, but how did he get the information?
From this guy.
Yeah, why didn't he go to the cops first with that information?
He did.
Okay, then why did he let it loose if it wasn't the right person?
Try again. Okay. At least he wrote a series of articles about
I know that.
He was contacted by this guy, Emerald Gregg, right?
I hear that.
Okay,
I hear you.
Look, just read the caption. So protecting his identity under his rights under the First Amendment.
My question is...
He told his story, okay? So he's telling the story that's supposed to be the confessions of the guy, but since they've got this guy confessing and it's in the paper, right? Then the police are like, hey, reporter, seriously, stop just telling this guy's story and tell us who he is. And that's what he did. He turned over his source.
If he had information before that, before he released the motherfucking article...
No, he didn't. What are you talking about?
You said the police came and said, tell me who your source is.
Right. And so he gave up the guy that he had been using.
The question is, did the police already know who the senator was?
No, they didn't. They're trying to find him.
I'm telling you, he should have went to the cops first before doing the friggin' story if he was a really righteous man.
Right. Well, who said that he was righteous, though? Because
that's what I mean.
That's like...
He was not a good
Right.
person
He
who
was
went to
exploiting
be
the situation.
Venom.
Right.
He was already a little shit heel.
Nobody said he wasn't.
I'm just saying you were going later. They went into Brock's life to
Right.
talk about.
But they
no,
still didn't
he
just
was
make
the
him
shit
innocent.
heel.
They still didn't just make him innocent. You know?
He was the shit heel who didn't care, or he would have went to the cops first with who the Sin Eater was.
No
or
argument
his,
about that. Well, I mean, it's not like the costume turned him bad.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah. But basically...
But why did... my question is, why did the alien choose badness? And this was an alien. Why did it choose badness instead of goodness? I don't care why Brock. Why did it choose Brock?
Because the comic book company needs villains to populate.
And they
monthly
wanted to
stories.
use that. Spider-Man's, it's a gimmick. They wanted to use Spider-Man's costume against him. Someone who had his own power, and they didn't want to make another spider person.
Yep, and they had that just sitting right there.
And it's a gimmick. And it feels gimmicky when the art sucks.
When that started, though, right? It's like initially, when they first came out with the black costume, it was meant to kind of be his costume for some time, you know? But before it ever came out, right? Ron Friends, the artist, he was one of the earliest artists that I ever talked to in my journalism, right? And I talked to him for like 4 hours one night, mostly about the kid who played
And I did
Spider-Man.
read a lot of these stories.
But he said, well, what he told me was that initially nobody wanted to be associated with the black costume at Marvel because of the letters that they were getting before the stuff even came out. But then after it had been out for several months, all these people raving about how cool it was
Because they liked
started
the
to come
difference.
in, right?
But
But they had already set up, well, this thing's going to be an alien. And then it's like, this was a long time for comics.
no, I don't mind the alien.
No,
My
I'm just saying
question-
that like they went 3 years
My
before they
question in my
decided
head
to do
is,
this.
it's always been, like, what was they never really fully, and I've read these comics, explain the motivations of why the symbiote became a bad being instead of a good being.
Right, because if it's a being,
It felt
If it
enough to
didn't have
save
emotions-
Peter's life.
right, and if it didn't have emotions before that, then why isn't it still influenced chiefly by
And
that?
why does it like the bad emotions that it feels? Can't it feel Brock's emotions, his anger? And then why is it enjoying that more than it enjoyed the good emotions
I guess,
or the emotions of caring?
why would it be that jealous about having Peter's life back?
Yeah, why would it want Peter's life back? Why wouldn't it find somebody who wasn't bad that wanted it? You know?
I don't
Lend
know
its
that.
power. Because, the symbiote costume didn't come with the ability to do the spider thing. It became a costume, and what it does is it from what I remember, it combines with their thought pattern, and then it just produces what the thought pattern was, which is the web sling, whatever. Right? It's that malleable. Why didn't it find its surgeon?
Yeah,
To combine with the thought pattern of it and give it the special ability of surgery.
because
so
it's
super
trapped
hyper.
inside the cruel cycle of making heroes and villains in a comic book series.
But it just feels like it. Yeah, exactly. But they never actually gave you the motivations of this. Supposedly
If they
thinking.
did, it was years later because the writing in the comic books for the past few years, from what I can tell overall, is more sophisticated.
From what I remember, though,
But those aren't
up
comics
until
that
to
we
the
collected
up
at
until
all.
the point, up until the point that we stopped collecting.
Yeah, this right here is
This
aimed
storyline,
at 13-year-olds.
I didn't really understand the motivations, and sometimes, unfortunately, when they do come out with the motivations, again, it feels gimmicky. Somebody's,
like talking about manufacturing waste.
things that really in a normal human being doesn't make them just become complete asses.
No, that's true.
Doesn't make them complete
The
villains.
cosmonaut was making the point that just because Two-Face's face gets scarred in
There's a lot of people with
in the
scar
Dark
faces,
Knight, right?
doesn't mean
Well, and his girlfriend got killed too. But then why does he just become evil?
evil, right?
Right.
There are people who have car accidents who they got scar faces or can't walk, and they lose their girlfriend. Oh wait, there's a drummer who lost his arm and his fiancée.
Mhm.
And instead of becoming a villain, the man learned how to drum with one arm and
Yeah,
his feet.
right. But
They
it's
didn't
just
make him a villain.
that's what the story is really about, though. It's like the directions that we come from to motivate ourselves. But that's also why they ended up, like, the character was so popular that they tried to move him over into at least a more morally gray area, where at least he thought he was being a good guy. That's the other thing to remember.
Well, usually they convince themselves they're being a good guy.
But isn't
unless
everybody-
they're just all
isn't
out for money
everybody-
and don't care.
Most people are the hero of their own story more times
Absolutely.
than not. More times than not.
Absolutely.
Except for people like me that sometimes just start like dealing with the thought that maybe
Well,
I suck.
unfortunately for people who don't really have many
But you don't have to take it there.
narcissist tendencies, there are times when you might look at yourself and feel utterly contempt for your own self.
I've been trying to cultivate a really positive self-image, and it just,
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work every day, but it works most days. So.
Oh yeah, it's working so well overall. It's like, cause there's at least there's kind of a bottom. You know what I mean? It's not like swimming across the ocean now. It's more like, you're in the pool, and like at a certain point there is a bottom. And which way is up is the other way. And I get to that. I feel the bottom of the pool more often. And I don't really feel like I'm just in like suffering for suffering's sake.
Sure.
That's part of what's going on with this character, right? I mean, the thing that always gets me is like, how do these villains stay motivated to actually do things dealing with the kind of emotional set that they have?
Well, they're being emotionally manipulated. I hope that most people don't spend as much time in anger as they have the many, many, many people who become villains so easily in the comic books.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like if there's a reason that comic books ever had a reputation for being silly, it's because, not because the heroes were silly, but the reason for being a villain was usually silly. So he's like, my life couldn't have been more shattered. I may have made an error in judgment, but I was always
Shattered
a good
life. I
journalist.
love
Right.
I love the beautiful dramatic language. His life was shattered.
Right, and the garbage that he was forced to write began to write his soul. So to stay a professional writer, he apparently got demoted.
So
He had to write.
instead of finding a different career, writing a novel, he complains and says, hey, that's an excuse for what an ass I'm
So he
gonna
doesn't
become."
end up rehabilitating his reputation. But the stuff about his wife's not in there yet either. And I don't know what all that is. Just that it was probably better written, I suspect.
You suspect?
Yeah,
or
I relocated in the Bronx, spent part of my meager income on the bodybuilding equipment. I heard that exercise could reduce stress. It didn't work. I lifted a barbell and
it
your
only
throat was
reinforces
squeezing.
what you're thinking about. It can't
Yeah,
really
each time I punched the heavy bag, I was pulping your face, and it's just like.
What you were thinking about was not
But
getting
if
your
he was-
body
but
fit,
look,
but
if he
getting
was-
them back at somebody.
If he was even a halfway
meditated.
decent person, though, at the core of it, if he was really a halfway decent person.
He was absolutely punching the
mad.
punching bag, using his exercise to meditate on hurting somebody
Right.
instead of becoming better. He didn't do that exercise to become fit.
So he built those
He
muscles.
did the
to-
exercise to throw a fit. And
Yeah.
there's a difference. You're not. Some people think that exercise, if somebody exercises every day, automatically that makes them some kind of guru. No, it doesn't. They don't even sometimes use that exercise to relieve stress.
Right. But then it's like when you add obsessions,
Into it, you obsess it on pulping that guy's
But
face.
now do we have a realistic motivation for any human being at all? I mean, does that even sound like a human motivation? I think that it kind of does, but it says something unfortunate. Because here's the thing, right? He knows.
My question-
No. My turn. Is that he said, "Go good and well." He knew. I've been waiting to say this. He knew that Spider-Man caught the real killer. So regardless of what else happened, it stopped the guy from just murdering people anymore, and he should have been sanguine about that.
Yeah, and he should have said, it's unfortunate that the information that I had was wrong.
But we can agree this presentation of
But
the
I
Eddie
wasn't
Brock
meaning any harm. But this whole, it's Spider-Man's fault just because it's his fault because I was wrong.
right. But we
It's
can
not
agree.
Spider-Man's fault he was wrong.
No, but we can agree too that, like, as irrational as he is, that he's also not sympathetic because he could have made other choices. Yeah,
So
he
why
got
didn't
caught
he
in a
so-
thing, but
so
he
why-
caught himself in
Why
that
did he
thing.
get so obsessed with messing with the guy who fed
But-
him the wrong information?
But think about this
Why was
too.
it Spider-Man's fault?
If he's
That's
such
the right one.
if he's such a poor person, that he
Spider-Man's
thinks.
not the one
Listen,
who
if he's
told him
such a
the
poor
wrong
person that he thinks that he isn't the one. But if he's such a poor person that he doesn't, that he thinks that he's talking to a killer and he'd rather exploit that for money than turn the guy in. If he really thinks he's talking to the killer, right?
Then at least give that information to the cops. The cops can work on the information that you have.
Yeah, so
and find their own conclusions about it.
He's greedy, and narcissistic.
He's greedy already.
Yeah,
He's
he was
willing
already
to put somebody who may not be innocent, or he's willing to allow that person more freedom while he's breaking the case for the cops instead of letting the cops do their job. And it's his own dang fault that he went ahead and published something that he couldn't be sure about because he was sure about.
Because he didn't have evidence of it, and it was lurid.
And he wasn't a cop. He wasn't a cop. And he was definitely not that great of an investigative reporter if he just took somebody's confession.
Right, but then also blaming somebody else for your own actions, isn't that also of a piece with a person becoming a villain?
Did Peter Parker or Spider-Man publish that article? No. With his name on it? No. Did he tell him the wrong information? No. The guy decided that he was at fault because he didn't want to admit he was greedy enough to work on the wrong information. And now, the career he was working with so much greed in is no longer available to him because he was not good at his job.
Right, so the difference that we would probably find between this and the movies is that the character that they're creating in the movies, in order for him to star in the movies, doesn't make a Spider-Man villain.
Nope.
They're never really setting up him to be a Spider-Man villain because that doesn't work. He has to be... You have to want to kill Spider-Man, you have to be a bad person.
Which would be...
I agree, no matter what sympathetic things are going on or whatever.
Especially when Spider-Man didn't cause the trouble, really. I don't know how his thought process had got to blaming Spider-Man. I could see how he'd want to kill the guy who claimed to be the killer or whatever. I could see how he would blame him, but I don't see the leap that made it Spider-Man's fault.
But we can agree that he's already the seed of a villain at heart.
Yeah.
We can agree with this presentation, for all the information they've given us, he wasn't a great guy.
Wasn't he?
No.
He was looking for someone to blame.
And that he probably thought more of his respected status in journalism than it was actual. But
on the wrong information as if he were a freaking cop and could ferret out the truth.
Yeah, and he didn't investigate whether or not the guy was just telling him stories.
He wasn't even a reporter. Because he wasn't.
It was the equivalent of getting your knees off.
Where's the investigation into whether or not that guy really killed him?
But this kind of news is that's the cycle that's going on in social media these days, to where a lot of people don't know, they don't have research. Nobody researched anything behind it because it affirms, just like he wanted to believe the killer was talking to him because that made him important.
That made him important to get to break a case.
And it made that maniac
instead
important.
of asking if the guy was stable, the guy he was speaking to.
So you ready?
Because why would the guy confess to him and not the cops if the guy was really the killer and wanted to confess?
Okay. Way back there, you said that you had a question, and you meant it kind of rhetorically because you were just going to make a statement, I think. But do you remember?
No, my biggest question is...
You remember? Go, yes.
What made the alien enjoy the anger more than... Because what made the motivations for the alien who once felt for Peter Parker enough to save his life and his family to want to bond with someone who wants to destroy this man that he saved the life of when he could have destroyed him in seconds.
But that's the fundamental question of what's going on between people with their division. It's not always just over politics.
But at the time, the division over politics wasn't near what it is.
No, I agree. But all of this is it's of a course, right? It's like, why, in any case, right, regardless of your affiliation, why would you choose anger and hatred as and of course
I was thinking about the feeling itself.
Yeah.
Anger feels nasty. I would rather cry over feeling
so here's
for
the thing.
something
Since
or
feelings
someone.
are new to it, is the alien just experimenting with different emotions?
No, not if he combines with someone whose emotion is anger. It's only experimenting with anger.
Yeah, he did want to be with Peter.
It didn't
Ferrero
go
or
to.
whatever.
It is not like he jumped from the angry person, like, "Ooh, that was a nasty tasting emotion," to someone like frivolous, like Mary Jane was when we first met her, and happy-go-lucky, someone he could feel happiness from.
You'd like this. I was actually postulating on what would have happened if she. The thing is, the way they wanted to write it, they wanted to make a
she
villain,
would've
but what would have
kicked ass
happened?
in that
She would have
costume.
looked kick-ass in that costume, and what if she'd used that costume to become a superhero, and then how would
It'd
they deal with it
been
not
too
bonding
much like
permanently
Black
with her?
Cat, I think.
It would have been more awesome than
Even
Black
though,
Cat,
you know,
though.
even though it was Spider-Man.
I didn't know how long it would last, and the thing is them treating her like she was the hostage of the suit was always a possibility, but if they wrote it well, she would communicate with it.
Maybe it would like her thought processes.
Yeah, the question, of course, is, that whole
Maybe
thing
it would have
about
liked being a
possession,
woman.
yeah.
It certainly didn't try.
Yeah, now other
I mean, I
symbiotes
just mean
do
it didn't
later.
try.
Yeah. There are actually a ton of symbiotes now. There's at least
Did
18
become
that I've known.
But remember, though, he did have a.
There's a whole planet of them somewhere.
I was about to say he was from a planet. He was
Of
an alien.
symbiotes, yeah, and there's a
So
whole.
the thinking being, the conscious being on that planet, were symbiotes. We don't know that they had loving relationships or what that was like because he seemed to be experiencing emotion
Uh-huh.
and care about something for the first time. Maybe they asexually reproduced.
Well, this is always
Right?
the part that we enjoyed the most, But then they do have some fight here, basically,
Maybe they asexually reproduce. I don't know because I didn't know that much. But they didn't seem well when the stories they told it, and I was aware that it felt Peter's feeling. I know that story. I read that story somewhere. Maybe we got it on the
We just last night read the one about
no, that one. I had read that one somewhere already.
Mhm.
Now maybe we didn't have it. Maybe we
We
got
didn't
it.
know that one we had. That was Web of
Yeah.
Spider-Man 1. I owned that since I was 11.
Well, see, I knew that one then, and I
Until-
knew the story, but we also had some of the later stuff
Yeah.
about Brock. Not maybe that one that where he became it,
There are a
but
couple. There's a couple that I was able to get when I got interested in Amazing Spider-Man again. I mean, I stopped collecting it for a couple of years before I bought that, and then I just bought a little more, and I bought it sporadically after about this era.
after a while, yeah.
Well, you know.
some of it, at first it was so great, they were all so great, and then it all had the same kind of feeling.
I came back to it whenever it felt like that it would be fun again, and I started reading it again during the Return of the Sinister Six. So I just missed this, but I hadn't been around for the original Sinister Six story, and it seemed like it would be fun. And I thought it'd be fun to see all those villains again. And, it was pretty good. And it came out bi-weekly, and it came out while I was on vacation one of those weeks, so that was fun. That was the day that I hit my head way too hard in that Astro van.
Ow!
Yeah, it was bad.
I don't.
Oh, that made me sick. It was a tough one.
Look, I'm sure, but I've hit my head on the frames of cars and vans and stuff, and
Would
it's
you mind tilting this over to the side a little bit?
tilt one over.
The camera.
Oh, the camera's
I don't
right
mind
here.
you being on that side. You told
No,
me
but
that
I don't care. I don't want.
Oh, here you go. Just over my shoulder. The other way. Okay. All right. So basically, right? You told me that your mind would wander, but it was the art, wasn't it?
And well, my mind would wander. Period.
Right. But you still were on the topic. You haven't gotten off the topic of the characters.
I can deal with plots and stuff. I just can't keep up with trying to read.
Right.
You give me a topic though, like with the African American studies, I can talk all day on.
Well, anything where people have acted in a way that you can dramatically respond to, I guess.
I watch tons of soap operas, and these
Exactly.
are built very soap opera like, and they even have the same soap opera motivations that the villains on soap operas have.
Right, and the thing is that we often feel that it's hard to motivate a villain
It's just that these days
because
and
it's
age,
just a bunch of
it
bad
turns
choices.
women's stomach when they constantly use women as the motivations.
True.
As if women aren't strong. We are very strong.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
And we don't cower in the corners. If something like that would happen, adrenaline would kick in. And you wouldn't be cowering, but using whatever method you could.
Gotcha. So you're saying that that they would have lost you on the first 2 or 3 pages, right?
Mm-hmm. That one would have, yes. Especially with Mary Jane. Some man in her house, no. Mary Jane would have, she was frivolous, but she would have, this is my house. You know what year this is? That's the Mary Jane I met. And they have her suddenly weak. She would have kicked his ass out of there, and also
kicked Venom's ass out of her house.
She would have tried. She later kicked Chameleon's ass.
Chameleon
and she had been through more to cause
Chameleon
her
is
fear
only
by
as
then.
strong as a man, right? Venom is supposed to be even stronger than Spider-Man.
And Venom was supposed to care about her, remember?
Venom? Care about her? No.
Yeah. Yeah. He
No,
was supposed
Venom,
to care about who Peter cared about.
But Venom doesn't. Venom is so much guided by Eddie Brock's
He did.
intentions.
He did.
Right, the costume is
So
really...
that means that costume has no self-motivation, which mixes the fact that this was supposed to be a thinking, feeling being who with motivations of their own.
Right.
And
you're
could
saying
not
that,
break Brock's hold on him.
Up to this point, the costume has just been a passive writer.
But it wasn't.
But is
with Peter.
But is it using Eddie to get closer to Peter again, so that it can try again?
But the question is why would he put Mary Jane in jeopardy at all when it was her and the people that Peter
That he was
cared
supposed
about.
to care about too.
Why would he want to be this particular man unless he cared about the people? Why would he still want to be him?
See, here's the thing, right? When they're talking
So
about...
why would he put her in jeopardy?
Like the bond,
Makes no
right?
sense.
He said that the blaster had made the symbiote been driven away, right? But it didn't this time. He says it must have completely bonded with his body. That's why I wasn't triggering my spider sense. The alien never tripped it, and now he is the alien. But what we were just saying
Is that he can't be.
It's like the alien just became him.
You
instead.
saw how quickly, though, he fought to be Peter, to be in control of Peter. And yet, with Brock, he chooses not to be in control. He was ego. It was his ego about being the one in control in the driving seat. He was taking Peter over.
You don't buy that the suit is just along for the ride,
Brock
right?
It's not consistent, though. It's not. With the Venom, the character, the alien, he fought tooth and nail to be Peter, to be in control of Peter, but he has not tried at all to be in control of Brock.
Right, he hasn't tried to take over Brock yet.
Because why would he put someone he felt enough for to save the life of the guy he was wanting to kill?
Maybe their motives are both aligned enough at this point. But again, that would be why. It's like, why did it choose hatred?
Why would it change? Why would he put the woman he felt enough for to save her boyfriend's life? And whatever. Those feelings, why have they changed about those people? Because those people haven't changed.
Right. Why is it bonding with someone who seems insane?
Why he would go after Peter? Maybe because Peter fought him. But why would he scare Mary Jane like that when he showed an obvious care about her? It wasn't about Peter because he wanted to kill Peter.
There is one thing, though, about what we know about humans and symbiotes at that point, and that's this. Peter didn't know what the alien was thinking other than by the way he interpreted its actions. And that Brock doesn't know how the suit feels. Now you're saying, why would the suit help Brock menace MJ?
That in particular, not why I would go after Spider-Man. He may have the same stupid motivations like in Spider-Man.
But why would it bother him after it saved his life so he could be with those people?
And why would it bother them? And why would it hurt them? Because they cared enough about them to leave him alive. Why would it go and then yet hurt them? When did it start hating them enough to give them that trouble? When did it start hating them enough to bring them into it? When he cared enough about them.
And that's something that's going to happen. That's going to happen consistently every time Venom comes back. It's like that Eddie starts to do this Cape Fear thing where he's like trying to scare Peter by reminding him that he can get close to his people. Right?
So why is it menacing?
Why is the suit allowing that?
Why? Yeah, if it
See, why
cared
don't you make
enough-
better
No,
choices?
it's just the inconsistency of the writer because it cared enough about those people. Remember, it was Peter's emotion about those people that it
Right.
felt.
Well, yeah, the
It
inconsistency
didn't
of
want
the editor in a
them
way.
to feel harm over Peter
Well, they
being
just didn't.
gone.
They just didn't go back to like
Right.
They didn't go back to what Louise established.
Inconsistency
in
in
Web of
writing
Spider-Man.
and storytelling.
But it's also different writers too.
It doesn't matter. It still should, if you're talking about
You should keep characters
consistency
consistent
of
as you
what
pass
the
them.
alien was.
I agree that you should keep consistency with like what the characters are.
Because how are we supposed
in
to know
essence.
anything about that alien race?
Yeah, but it was an inconsistency between writers and between editors because I think that's I
Right?
think a
Because
different
it's
editors in
easier to
charge.
write
of those
a menacing alien than a feeling alien.
Yeah, then it would just be a question of like, how do you come up with anybody that is an actual villain?
You know, if they had
But then,
taken
but there are a lot of comics
it
that
would
don't
have
have
been more
villains
interesting
anymore. It's not
if they
like
had
that.
taken the intent of him menacing Mary Jane because he had fallen for her and he was obsessed, and that's why he.
If the suit was drawn to those same people
So,
because
but
it
some
wants to
people are
replicate.
obsessed,
If
harm
it
the
wanted
people
to-
they say they love,
Yeah.
right? So if
Sure.
they made the suit not instead of being obsessed with harming Peter for the sake of being mad at Peter, rather wanted to take Peter over because he was obsessed with Mary Jane, was menacing Mary Jane because he wanted her, was trying to convince her to come to him instead of Peter. That would have been a better and different.
Oh, if the suit
story.
had come to his family and tried to bond with like Aunt May or
well,
right, but
like,
especially MJ though, that's the one that you think would be
Bond,
most interesting.
He wanted MJ, so maybe he would want, like maybe he felt for MJ, so he can't see himself in love with her. And so he starts stalking her, making her aware he wants her. And that would have been a more interesting story because the anger at Peter is unjustified. Peter didn't make him save his life. He
True,
could have killed Peter.
but in real life, people don't always act rationally and with emotional responsibility.
But this wasn't people. And he cared about this woman, so it would make more sense why he would put her in jeopardy if he got obsessed with her. And he was putting her in jeopardy to show what he could do if she didn't go to him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was none of that. So it doesn't explain where the turn of emotion was.
Would you want to see Peter like webbed up to the bells and
I've actually seen that
try to
image.
get himself free?
I've seen that piece of the comic book. I don't know if it was in one of those comic book write-up things. I read, the synopsis things that I read, but I've seen that, actually.
So he gets away
Almost
from the
they
bells.
used it again.
He rips out of this is just for our viewers that I'm doing this, so I have the rest of the video. So they've got the whole comic and we do this. This is what we did, and I got it all on tape. This is what our life is like right now. So Spidey kicks Venom right in the face. Basically, they go on.
I think I never really liked the tone that they took with Venom. Now, Carnage I loved. He was always evil.
Yeah, Carnage.
He was always evil.
And by not being just directly obsessed with only Spider-Man, it meant that...
he was just evil incarnate. It made more sense.
Yeah, so there you go. Vote for Carnage and the Venom.
As far as villains go, they didn't give him a complex motivation. He was always just kind of evil. He liked the destruction. And that made more sense to me.
Yeah, like something in him snapped when he was far too young.
Yeah,
and
when
that
he
he'd
was
been
born,
hurting
or
things.
maybe he was born that way. There are kids that are born with conditions.
Double Y chromosome, that's the condition you're talking
Yeah, that or conditions in their brain, certain parts of their brain being messed up.
Mm-hmm.
That give them more of a reptilian type brain, if you will,
Yeah.
where they don't have any impulse control at all, and they do like to see what happens when they do things. Some good things, some bad things. They just like to see what happens when they do things.
So
And they don't have
anyway,
feelings
I
about
doubt that you care, but the way it works out is that they're going to take it to the Baxter building. There's Ben when he's in that particular state as he is in his book over there. And then they're going to talk a little bit. So she doesn't want to see the suit anymore, which the artist didn't want to draw anymore. That's one reason this is going in the fire right now. But what you're saying is that it feels sometimes like that human interference in the stories that come out robs them of where the story really should have gone.
Where it could have gone.
Because of the need to make it do this or make it do that.
Yeah.
Right, like the need to have like a
to
new
fit
major
into this
villain.
mold.
And it worked. They did get a major villain out of it, but and they
I
ended up
love
coming back
Carnage
to it.
better.
Yeah.
He had no motivations other than he wanted to see things just like Joker, kind of. I mean, Batman became his nemesis, but Batman didn't start out as his nemesis. Joker was already a kind of a criminal and crazy.
Right.
Batman became his nemesis because Batman kept standing in his way.
There you go. Will you care anything about watching their fight? Because that's what most of the issue at that point is.
Really.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Okay.
He's learned something about Peter. He's learned something about humankind. And he just never understood why he would, because in order to save Peter, it wasn't because he felt for Peter. It's because he felt for the people that Peter felt for, because he had developed emotion.
To say nothing of the fact that it looked like that it stayed there in the tower long enough to die itself.
Post my most recent video celebrated writer Bill Manklow's birthday by visiting Cloak and Dagger. Today, how Venom ate our brains. I found a theme. When villains are popular enough, they spawn their own titles. They often began as foes of Spider-Man. Now, everyone who came into conflict with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man was not motivated to do bad things. Some were just shady or misunderstood. But Spider-Man's adventures basically break down to discoveries of rampages, like when the Rhino comes to town, or extended schemes, like with the Hobgoblin or the Green Goblin, and sometimes just a misunderstood creature. Spider-Man's good at deciphering that last type. But what if you had a villain who's capable of all three? Now, the 70s introduced a number of titles with monstrous protagonists, and the Punisher originally led the pack of creations to challenge the wall crawler, who got their own independent fandom. He's had some popular movies and TV incarnations, but not nearly the box office splash Venom has. Morbius is a lower tier version of the spin-off success, and Black Cat almost had her time in the Mark Webb-directed Amazing Spider-Man franchise, but bad luck. There were so many through the decades, but the Punisher, Black Cat, and Venom are the top tier of antagonists who engaged a following, with dozens of Spider-Verse spin-offs now too. But Venom was the biggest Spider-Man spin-off of that era, and the saga of the symbiotes has grown into a wide-line phenomenon at Marvel Comics. To say nothing of spawning 3 movies, starting with one that nearly made $1 billion. That's never happened to any other Spider-Villains. But this is the story of the original Venom, who's gone through like 5 incarnations, and his symbiote, as those two aspects have their own independent influences, appearances, and, as you'll see, origins. My introduction to the new suit was Marvel Team Up 141. Peter could mentally command it to take on different appearances, and it supplied webbing, which gave a hint to its organic nature. The strange being posing as Peter's black costume didn't start as a full-blown villain. It was a willing partner to Peter's needs as Spider-Man. You see, the most disturbing thing it did was take Peter out web-slinging in his sleep, and it was never provided a motive, was it? I think it eats adrenaline is what it is. Well, the most disturbing thought until he thought it couldn't come off anymore, but that also upset the suit too. I want to mostly look at Amazing Spider-Man 258, Web of Spider-Man 1, and Amazing Spider-Man 300, and I'll share the Black Suit's symbiote's progress in between. So this question of how far can a character go breaking the rules and still be benevolent, or at least capable of more than rampages, long-term schemes, and being a misunderstood creature? And even better, how about one with a sense of morality that twists around the object of his obsessive hatred? Now, mid-80s pop culture in America loved aliens. And while aliens aren't usually grounded enough to supply storylines in The Amazing Spider-Man, this time they used a rogue alien to craft an S-tier fictional baddie. Peter Parker and the alien symbiote have some obvious differences, beginning with the way each thinks of the other. In the stories following Reed's revelation, there's a visceral revulsion that comes with a potential enemy being that close to Peter. Yet the inability of the captive symbiote to communicate can be seen as a reasonable desperation of a sentient being. We take it on appearances that it's villainous. Now, seeing the depth of MJ's backstory in Amazing Spider-Man 259, it occurs to me now, if they had waited to pay off the return of the Hobgoblin, I would like to have seen how she could have fit into this storyline. Perhaps she could have brought some understanding and maybe delayed the creation of the Venom symbiote. I think it would have been cool if she had been present during Web of Spider-Man #1 when it attacked anyway. Well, earlier, I alluded to the evolution from misunderstood creature, but we take on appearances that it's villainous. But there was something lonely, even if that was only given one-page scenes, that does make the creature sympathetic. It could respond to Peter's commands, but if it could take him out web-swinging in his sleep, it's too bad it never wrote Peter a note. I like these stories because even at age 10, I felt like there was more than meets the eye. We didn't have time to parse if the symbiote was being deceptive, but its abilities did lend well to villainous motivations. And then we get the interference of Kristoff, the child whose mind held a facsimile of Victor Von Doom himself, and his probe in the alien research facility. Christos Gage did an insert story in 2011 to explain why the probe tipped off its appearance. It's part of the Venom bomb storyline, which I haven't read. For whatever reason, we don't get more about the symbiote until after it's found its new host and begun to mysteriously return. Its nature is depicted as menacing, moving from victim to victim amid the shadows. You see, as it did not find a way to communicate with Peter that it was a symbiote, it felt accepted by this being, Peter, with an interesting array of powers, and apparently survives fine on Earth, so long as it mostly maintains a host body, I think for adrenaline purposes. But it was that permanent bonding thing that was the real problem. Now, if Peter's life hadn't been such a mess at the time, maybe he would have moved to reach out to the alien that he's brought and stranded here in the Baxter building. It could have been a decent place to communicate. Now, when Web of Spider-Man #1 came out, I felt like I was participating in something big and special happening that really introduced me to the fun of collecting. Like there was something that you just couldn't miss. I really enjoyed stories where the new comic book might be something that I anticipated the most. Now, accepting and working with a symbiote, at least for a while, until they could work out a different living arrangement, would be such a fundamental change to make to the continued stories of the Spider-Man that one uses even for generic Spider-Man stories. We take it on appearances that it's villainous, but there was something lonely, if that was only given one page of scenes, that makes the creature sympathetic. It could respond to Peter's commands, but if it could take him web-swinging in his sleep, it's too bad it never wrote Peter a note. At the end of the story, writer Louise Simonson captions that the alien had no emotional stimulation behind its life and feeding cycle on its world. Now, when Angie read Web #1 with me, it was clear to her that the symbiote now felt what Peter was feeling as he thought he was sacrificing his life. She speculated it might have learned to care about the people of whom Parker is thinking there on Death's Bell Tower. So it seems like the symbiote sacrifices its life at the end of Web 1. But as we discover in the origin that's recounted in Amazing 300, it's actually up to no good along with Eddie Brock after they bond. And it's already tried to hurt Peter a couple of times, since it can get past his spider sense. Now, I admire how long the living suit's return takes, and I like those 2 times Spider-Man is attacked with no awareness of who can get so close. But it's in issue 300 that we get all of our threads together to create Venom. Now, writer David Michelinie originally planned for Venom to be a woman bonded with the symbiote, and that she had lost her child and her husband due to an accident involving someone paying attention to Spider-Man instead of the road. And there is a theme. Spider-Man ruins people's lives by accident, okay? And if this spurning of an entity that had been so intimate with Peter's body, if that doesn't play to the theme, then what does? And how perfect that it bonds with Eddie Brock, whose life was ruined, he says, by Spider-Man, revealing that he had fingered the wrong guy to be the Sin Eater when he did his photo expose.
They
So if it was
never,
willing to sacrifice itself for him, how did it go
they,
from being willing to give
and
its
they
life
never
for Peter to come and to
well,
kill him?
and even if he didn't feel for Peter, why would he, and he,
Why would he
still
harm
went,
any of the
he
people
still
in his
went
life?
after Peter. Why would he go after the people that he felt for? These feelings are what caused him to save Peter.
Gotcha.
In the end, it's not his feelings for Peter, it was Peter's feelings for others.
Right.
Peter made him feel something for other people.
So what you feel?
And so he
about
went
it
to
is-
Menace, and it would have been a much better story if he
You're
had
saying
become
that there should have-
obsessed.
right.
That would have he thought himself was in love with him.
Okay, well, that's the entire origin and first appearance of Venom. And that's our video, I guess. Well, you want to come say goodbye? Remember, there you go. The camera's like right there.
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Well, see, they can't. I was making sure I was.
So the moral of the story is that it might be like a key issue, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody thinks that it's good.
It doesn't mean that the plotting.
But your
is
hot
actually
takes are
good.
fine though, because it is true though. It's like that there's a difference in, and that's why there's still more stories
Some
to write
people just
too.
start accepting things as canon, just because they were written and they were written and they were written.
Yeah,
so many
and
years
good
ago.
writing is when you try to dig
But
underneath
good
and say
writing
it's like,
and
but
good
why?
art still remain the same.
So the more three-dimensional, you like stories where the people feel more human.
I like stories where it makes
Or even where the
some sort of
aliens-
sense, because I just Brock's motivations, he wanted just to throw blame
Yeah,
off
he
to
could still be a
anyone.
petty person.
And it was
Yeah.
just easy to pick at Peter. But the problem is that it's the motivations of the aliens been all over the place.
Well, when he
You
picked
thought
Peter,
when
he
he-
probably
when-
didn't think
When he chose
that he would ever have a chance to do anything. To
When he
Spider-Man, just wished
chose-
he could.
when he chose to save Peter, you feel like he's had an epiphany. Costume and make his life a better
There were tons of ways he could have done that. I mean, he's got an.
He could have become a wrestler.
Well, I mean, with the.
Like Spider-Man was
But
trying
it
to do
can
at
change into
first.
different things
Right.
too. Yeah.
He could have done many things. I mean, the first thought is he could have done something like that because he's full of brawn and he understands all of that kind of thing. You know.
Well, he feels himself with Braun, but yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, he bodybuilds, but they never really showed that criminal, that guy as a weak-looking guy though. It's not like they showed him as a scrawny guy. I don't remember him ever being scrawny.
Not unless he was played by Topher Grace.
He was
in
already.
Spider-Man 3.
No, I mean,
I know, in that what we just
In
saw.
the comic
But they only
books.
showed him from the head up. Or even his hands when he's typing or something. I don't know, we'd have to go back and look at it. But no, they don't really show much of Eddie Brock before he starts pumping iron.
yeah, but when they're showing him pumping iron, he's already looking good.
I
If
think
he had
this was
been
your
a-
favorite page.
If
of
he
the
had
whole
been a
thing.
super scrawny guy,
Right.
if they had showed him as a super scrawny guy,
And this
and
was your
then-
least favorite.
and then
All of this you hated.
no, I mean I actually liked the concept, but I didn't like the way they made her face look.
Mm-hmm.
But look, if they had showed him first, it would have been more effective if they'd have really showed him when they started talking about him pumping iron. They showed him as a scrawny ass motherfucker.
All they do really
From all
is,
I know, he's so
that's
broad.
the only picture. Yeah, it's
that would-
already pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so broad that would take years and years to get that
Right,
broadness.
but he was literally
if he
only.
was scrawny.
That's the only picture of him before all of this starts.
You know what I mean? But that would take years and years to get if he was scrawny.
Uh-huh.
You don't go. I don't care how much iron you pump. You can't get that big without years of doing it.
Oh yeah, even steroids don't change you in just a few months. He would have. I agree. He would have already had to.
It would have taken 3 or 4 years to get like that.
And he still likes pumping iron, but it's the adrenaline he's getting from pumping iron. that
I'm
the
just
alien
saying he
likes,
wasn't
too.
already. He was already an iron pumper.
Well-
He wasn't a scrawny
Well,
itch.
consider
that,
this
That
then.
was a weakling.
Right, but consider this though.
So he didn't just start
I
pumping iron.
found-
He just amped it up.
I agree. Well, I found that, that would make more sense. I agree because that's ridiculous.
Because you can't do that in a short amount of time.
Right.
I know.
I
I've
know.
exercised.
Here's the thing.
Takes a while
I
to
found
build
out that
muscle.
the alien was eating adrenaline. That would be the reason that it would take Peter out swinging him. But as far as he goes, right, that's one reason. Maybe it's addicted to Brock's adrenaline because he keeps on pumping iron.
But there's other adrenalines he could have gone.
Sure.
The feeling of anger should have outweighed that because he's learned to feel feelings now.
But at the end of the day, the thing that's kept Spider-Man
Because
going
there are plenty of people who pump that
is
are
its
happy.
weakness. The thing that's kept Spider-Man going is its weakness too, which is that they had to churn out more stories every month.
And
So
they wanted to
try
find
come
a
up with
juicy
villains, storylines, and good
villain.
visuals. And what do you think of the visual of Venom? Do you not like McFarlane's version of him? You like probably the gross, the one with like the teeth and shit.
I like Carnage, yeah.
When you
Well,
like
because
Carnage,
that
yeah.
makes him a real alien.
Oh, that's
Carnage
true too.
was a real. They tried to make his motivations more human
Right.
with
Venom.
With Venom, why didn't he just? Because with Spider-Man, with Peter, it wasn't about like revenge. He just wanted to take him over. Why didn't he just want to take Brock over? He takes him over. He does what he wants to do. Why did it become about needing revenge now? He had chosen to walk away from this dude. Why did he choose to bond with those motivations? He could have still used Brock's adrenaline. But he fought Spider-Man to be in control. Why did he not fight Brock to be in control? Where was his need to be in control of the being now?
And that's what you're saying is the inconsistency.
The inconsistency
in the
of
way that
the
it's characterized, and that they failed in
because
part
that was
because
the thing that it
was an
did. That
alien-
would, if it was going to fall back into habits, it would have fall back into the habits of taking control of the being that it is trying to combine with.
Right. There's
Right?
Eric Larson. I think
And it
he'd
didn't
actually
even try, it seems. It's like, ooh, yummy. Now let's hate Spider-Man.
I wonder if Eric Larson wasn't the artist you were thinking about that you liked better, because that's Eric Larson. Maybe you like him better than Todd McFarlane or any Todd McFarlane. But here is when dude.
Oh,
like,
I love it.
this is
that
good,
art.
right? This is Spider-Man 345, and this is towards the.
Did we seen that one, didn't we?
This
Or
might
something?
actually be Mark Bagley.
It's some good art, though.
Yeah, this is actually the very first
And it's
appearance of Cletus
consistent.
Cassidy.
If you look at it, it's consistent. Keeps the character's face
Uh-huh.
looking consistent.
Yeah. So what you're
And
saying?
they don't let men in drag when you see a woman.
So you actually much prefer this? This is Mark Bagley, I'm sure.
I think
He's
I
from
maybe
Georgia, you know.
mentioned at the time
He's
that I
really
thought
good.
McFarlane was a little overrated.
That could well be too.
Oh,
I mean,
look at the teeth.
I know,
Oh, man, I love those
It's
teeth.
part of the evolution of the
Well,
character,
it makes
right?
him like, yeah.
But
It makes him seem alien in a way that they weren't making him seem, even though he
Right.
was supposed to be an alien symbiote, and we can't understand his thought processes.
right, but Bagley is going to. He'll come back to the book, but we're going to actually finish these stories with Eric Larson. So my guess is right that if it's,
I love the disconnected jaw look, man.
I know it's like he becomes impossible
because
looking.
that's super alien.
Exactly.
Because it may be an impossible for human, but is it impossible for the alien?
So here is what we have discovered. Is that I
It
wanted,
wasn't Carnage.
I
from
wanted
the
to show
same,
you-
world.
yeah, I actually remember the little drip that you just saw coming off of the
Yeah, he was from the
Venom.
same world.
He was from Venom himself. He was from
think
Venom's.
That Carnage. I think in the end,
He's Venom's
it's
kid,
it's
kind
more
of.
like the whole that was just a bloody place that their planet was just a bloody planet of nasty ass creatures.
Right.
That they had sentient thought, but that didn't mean they had emotions.
All right.
You
Well,
know
I'll
what I
tell you
mean?
what. Sometime, right? I agree with you about the basic motivations of the alien. But that said, if you would like to, we can give one of these a try. Because this is like some others that I bought, and I love it. This was the last appearance of Venom
know.
for a while here in 346 and 347. But so anyway, but that's okay though. It's like it's okay to not like an individual comic book. To not like something
I
that
love
Todd
comic
McFarlane
books.
drew is not even unusual. You should hear people talk about Rob Liefeld, you know. But then other people love his work. They just love it, you know. They consider it iconic, you know. People just have different tastes.
I just don't understand inconsistency being considered.
But that is the hardest row to hoe when it comes to.
They know what they like about him is his covers. When you're dealing with a cover and you spend so much time on it and you have the proportions right on a cover,
Mhm.
it's different than actually keeping them in action and looking the
I
same.
agree, and that's why there's a difference between storytelling.
So he's a
artists-
very great cover artist. I will admit that. I did like Todd McFarlane's covers.
Right, but he's more of a splash page and cover and pinups. Is
something he can spend hours on getting that right and just that right.
Yeah, and do something really unusual with it. But when he's trying to tell a story that you're saying is individual, images start breaking down.
It's
So,
hard for him to keep
So did the
consistent.
artist bother you more than the writer? Because the writer made that choice to bring that character in as a villain?
Well, that's just a trope, though, anyway. So it's frustrating, but that's done. So yeah, the art bothers me more than the writing.
For better or worse? too.
Because I'm an old soap opera addict.
Right.
So, they will use tropes sometimes I disagree with, but that doesn't mean I hate the soap.
Right.
You
well,
know.
well, that writer wanted to bring a female Venom in, right?
I wish they had, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they made her evil, giving a female the motivations, they can't give the exact same motivations to a female that they can to a male. So there would be some uniqueness to it.
Yeah, I think that would have been true too. Well, it would have been like.
But the problem was a lot of times they shied away from it because they couldn't think like a female.
Oh, I agree. Even more than just, she wouldn't have been a credible menace. It's like, no, they would have just been afraid of getting her wrong.
The way the woman would menace would be a lot different than the way
Yeah, it would have been like.
less brawn, more manipulation.
It would have been more like
Usually.
sexy in a horror movie
Right?
kind of thing. Yeah.
More like a vampire would be, if you will.
Yeah, definitely more
manipulation
to try to get you
unless-
to destroy your own
Unless
life.
it just happens to be a huge ass woman who's violent,
Right.
like that, likes to get
Right,
physical.
that she wouldn't necessarily approach him like just someone who wanted to murder him
They
with her
would
own
use
hands.
this and this. to
Yeah,
get
she
what
would have
they
been more
wanted.
like, sorry you guys didn't get to see that, but she would have been more like the Hobgoblin, a planner.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
hopefully she would have gotten some other motives too, because I agree that just when your greatest desire is just to kill some other character, and especially when it's a character we know that you can't kill without them coming back anyway.
It's like, did you not have a mom or something?
Well, it's like, it's great knowing women, but it's like if you really want to get to know a woman, you have to be willing to listen, and
It's
even
like,
if you
you don't really
must struggle to
exist.
express your point before you forget it because it fits in. It's like that. It's a willing synthesis to make, like, it's not like just one person writing an essay.
But you have a true, if you're having a true
And it's better than an
conversation-
essay. It was a true conversation.
If
yeah.
you're having a true conversation, you will remember that point if it's important.
I think that's what I'm going to call it. How Venom Made Our Brains was what I was calling it, right?
Mhm.
How Venom Made Our Brains is probably all the title I need, but I was thinking, in the description it would be that, like, it's an honest conversation about the origins of Venom, which I would put that in the title because that's what it is. It didn't turn out to be just wow, that was neat, that was, exciting or
So
whatever.
I have had comic book where that is the case.
There are, but in this instance, it's
And
like...
in this instance, it's not the case.
But you're not alone. You're not alone. Sometimes people's fanaticism for the character,
I
like
would
Spider-Man,
never
it's like it,
loving comic books if that's what I got on my first foray with comic books. If I got a group of just inconsistent stories.
her actual first comic book was Terror in a Tiny Town from Fantastic Four 236.
That was
the
was
anniversary
that a
issue.
scroll one?
No, man, Doctor Doom put their bodies. He basically paralyzed the Fantastic Four and put their minds in these little puppets with the puppet
Okay,
master
so
cell.
it sounded
And
almost
created a town where they could be happy together, but
was similar, kind of like the scroll ideas just being taken over because they were basically being taken over, but it wasn't a scroll.
Not
But that
scrolls.
sounds like the title of a scroll story. Because the scrolls did try to take over their lives a lot.
Yeah, that's funny.
Only they didn't try to put them in simulations. They just wanted to take over their faces,
Hmm.
not their personalities.
Again, there's that theme. It's like, what would an alien want with a human life? That's actually a really interesting question because when you start thinking about it even a little bit, you're born in this human life, but you may take it for granted what it's like to take a perspective outside of
But for me,
who
they're
we
best
are for
done
a
if
second
they
and say,
give
it's
you-
like, what would I do with being a human? Why do I want
Yeah,
to be a person?
it's for me. It's best if they give you why the alien itself wants to take over that human life, why it's interested.
What motivated it? So you're saying that the character of the alien got lost in the shuffle, and that's
because
the biggest
alien
problem.
no
That's our
longer had that
takeaway.
autonomy anymore.
So our takeaway from all of this
and
is
I
that,
liked it when the alien had autonomy.
you know, aside from the critiques on the actual storytelling, it's
And it no longer had self-preservation.
yeah.
Because if it started
You're saying
taking
if you
on
were the
all
editor,
of
you
Brooke's
would've-
motivations, it no longer had a self.
Right. If you were the editor, you would have had the writer thinking twice about taking the character that way, right?
But it was autonomous. It was a thinking being. Why would it suddenly lose its autonomy and allow itself to lose its autonomy? Where was its self-preservation instincts then?
Why would it so
It
fully?
was trying to take over Peter's life at first to
Right.
preserve itself.
Right, but it doesn't make any sense for it to want to snuff out the life that it also supposedly wants to take over. I mean, that's like,
That makes no sense.
it's a silly contradiction, and it's sort of the
But
logical
how can it
fallacy
take
in
over that
Venom.
body if that body is dead?
All right. Agreed. Well, that's it, gang. We're done. And I don't know how to make that sound any better than that because I'm actually at a point where I would like to just sit and be quiet for a minute.
You don't know how much of that end you're going to take.
No, I'm definitely going to be editing all
That was
this.
a
But
long one.
it was, but now I've got to actually turn it off. Let's see, here we go. It's like, so this was Creating Marvels. I'm your host, Cecil, with my guest, Angie, and that's an honest discussion about the origin of Venom. Thank you very much. Be chill, Cecil.